Hi everyone, welcome. My name is Claire. I'm the events coordinator here at Alertus Technologies, and I'll be your moderator today. In this webinar, Greg Fickle, Senior Implementations Manager here at Alertus, will discuss Alertus's various wireless options and how they provide flexible alerting capabilities across any campus or facility. Our session today will be from 1 to 2. We'll begin with an in-depth presentation from Greg and then have the opportunity to engage with Greg to go over any questions you may have. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. All right, Greg, please take it away.
Terrific. Thanks, Claire. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone joining today. I hope I can provide you with useful information. And then, of course, at the end, if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out. So Alertus has been in business since 2002 and began with a simple premise that communication over cellular networks is not always the preferred methodology. Coming off of the events of 9/11, when cell phone networks simply became overrun, it became obvious that the ability to reach out to notify people of what's happening and get them moving in a direction that will lead them to safety during times of of real trial was necessary. And so Alertus began working with an IP-based solution, and the Alertus server and its various constituent modules were started. We're a relatively large company protecting millions of people every day. We are homegrown, and by that meaning that we were formed in the Baltimore, Washington, D.C. area and are still located there. I myself am about 15 miles from Capitol Hill. Most of the folks that I work with are in this corridor, though we do have some folks that are spread out across the country, at least on my team, the implementations team, so that we can work with folks in their time zone. We've grown, and we now have clients that range from daycare centers with 3, 4, 5 employees to universities that have very large campuses to multinational corporations, federal government entities, and are in all sorts of verticals, whether you be in hospitality, education, if you have a warehouse, you produce something, you ship something. We work. Our platform was designed to sort of be agnostic and allow you to utilize the system no matter what type of organization you have, whether you're centralized or you're dispersed, whether you're local, regional, across the country, or around the world. So the first device that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is our Wi-Fi panic button. This is a device that allows you to quickly, with very limited need for decision making, activate your Alertus server system. So the benefit of having a single button activation that would be on your person or in a specific location within a facility eliminates the need for someone to think about, well, what do I need to do? You just click the button. You don't have to make a decision. This has been used in schools to trigger a lockdown when there's the perception that somebody is outside and needs to be addressed. I've also seen it used in schools that have bad cellular reception, but have great Wi-Fi reception. And so teachers on playgrounds can hit this if there's a medical incident so that somebody is notified and comes running to assist with a student who's been injured. It's also used in various companies when it comes to seeing a problem on a production line, and they hit the button to stop the production line so they can figure out what the problem is. It can also be key to trigger the Alertus server system to put the building in lockdown, call 911, so forth and so on. The real handy part of this is it can be worn around your neck or in a pocket. this slide is basically talking about some of the features of it. It uses a 2.4 gigahertz network, so you don't have to worry about wiring. It's transportable, portable. It it has a rechargeable lithium ion battery, and the firmware for it is upgradable over the air. So as needed, it can be pushed out without you having to recall all of these buttons. You have the ability to designate that a button is assigned to a certain person or a location, and that information can be included in the alert that comes out when the button is pressed. Um, they are not particularly expensive. They are standalone and they're wearable, which is honestly what I think most people find uh, good, particularly so that if you get up and you wander away from your desk, you don't have to find a button to press if an event or an emergency occurs while you're moving around. The battery life is long. I put down here that it's days to week, depending on the use and the environmental conditions, but I'm also curving it down because I've worked with clients who have said they recharge these things on a schedule of every 3 months. But I do think it has a lot to do with the way it's used in the environment, and I didn't want to kind of oversell the fact. It recharges using a standard USB-C cable. It's nothing proprietary with that, so most people have them at this point. Um, the ease of activation, as we indicated, is important, and it can be fully integrated with the Alertus suite. So by that, I mean when the button is pressed on the Alertus server, you have the ability to say, when this button is pressed by this person and that person, we want it to do one thing. But when a button is pressed that's assigned to this person or the other person, we want it to do something different. um, the preset alerts, like I said, are completely customizable. If you have the Alertus server system already, you probably understand how that accomplished. But there are a number of variables that can be added into a message that will fill in information about the user, their location, which can be displayed for security personnel. So if you think of the example of an office building where you may have or a campus where you have numerous people with these buttons, the alert can go to your centralized security or your management team or whoever it is that's needing to be notified that Greg hit the button and his office is room 123 in office building C, as an example. It can also be triggered to activate a full wide of facility wide activation. So the example with that would be the button is the button is set up so that when it's pressed by, let's say, a security officer or management or a frontline employee, it's programmed to automatically activate the lockdown or the evacuation. If you have a facility and there's some sort of a spill, and that's your primary concern, that you want to get everybody out of the area if that spill happens, the buttons can be programmed to activate that alert. That alert can go out via desktops. It can go out through our speakers and our alert beacons, through digital signage. It can go out through other integrated applications that you may be utilizing. So it can the scale of the notification can go to notifying one or two people to notifying lots of people in lots of places about what's going on. There really is no limit to what you can do with it because the programming is done on the Alertus server side. The other thing that folks tend to like is there is a separate button, a test button that can be used so that people can validate that the button is working. There's also a screen that I'll show you in a few minutes where your IT team, your safety and security folks, or whoever it is that would want to verify, um, can see that the buttons are checking in on a regular basis. You can set up a process by which the buttons are told to check in these days of the week at this time. It could be every 4 hours, Monday through Friday. It could be 3 times a week. And that's also one of the variables for the battery life length. It's depending on how part of it is how often is the button turning itself back on and checking in with the server. Um, Now we can move into the wireless activation modules, or WAM. This device looks similar to a hardwired panic button that you may already have in your facility, but this device works wirelessly, eliminating the need for you to have wires run. Um, they're easily wall mountable. We've seen folks who have forklifts in warehouses that activate them, who attach them to the forklift, for example. Um, this gives you the ability to easily spin up a new facility without having to wait for networking to be put in place, wired networking. Or if you just have a sort of out of the way location within a facility that either wiring is difficult or expensive, but Wi-Fi works, these buttons fit in. The buttons are customizable. So this one says emergency, but you'll notice the ones to the right indicate that it's a lockdown, all clear. They can say whatever you want them to say. They're fully integrated with the Alertus system, just like the Wi-Fi panic button that I mentioned before. The the server can be programmed to say when any of these buttons are pressed, do X, or they can be programmed to have specific buttons indicate different things. So it could be that if it's on the shop floor, when that button's pressed, it indicates that the it indicates that there's an emergency on the floor and we do to respond to that location. It could be in the offices that the emergency button indicates that the health services need to come to a specific location. As with the Wi-Fi panic button, it's fully customizable. It can activate facility-wide, and it's reliable. It's as reliable as your wireless network. A couple of things to point out here is that because the WAM is capable of working on both 2.4 and 5 gigahertz, it it has a single battery that you can buy off of the shelf to replace in the device. The battery's life is measured in years. Um, so it's not as though you will need to change these frequently, and there's no need to charge them. So there's less need for you to maintain these. It also has the ability for dual contact closure support. So you can have an additional button or device act as a contact closure to this button, which will then be transmitted into the Alertus server. So contact closure one might be an emergency. Contact closure two might be an all clear. The emergency button's hit. Someone realizes that they've made a mistake. This isn't the emergency. And now they hit the all clear button that's sitting next to it. Or they could be hitting a button on the other side of the wall. So if you have these in a hallway environment with offices or conference rooms, on the other side of the wall, you can use one device and have two buttons so that people have to move less when a situation arises. Um, the button is by default designed to be normally open, but can be configured for a normally closed operation if necessary. It also has a speaker in it that will make a sound when the device is pressed. There's also a physical sound, a clicking sound that's made when the button is pressed. So you know when you've pressed the button. And it locks in the down position. So if you're sort of panicking and you try to hit it a second time, you'll notice it doesn't move, which our expectation is that would then let the person who may be panicking and sort of upset realize that they can now move to a safe location instead of continuing to hit the button. They're not particularly expensive devices, and they cost because they don't need to be wired in. So they're really good in a retrofit environment. If you have a building that already exists, and maybe it's a building that is problematic from the standpoint of running wire, it's an option for you. Again, it's flexible and the battery life can last up to several years depending on the usage and the conditions. The same items exist, which is the ability for you to, if you'd like, and to be able to see the status of it in the Alertus server console. So your security team, your management team, whoever is responsible for making sure the system is online and functioning, they'll be able to see the console. They don't need to go device by device to check it out. And this is an example of, for both the Wi-Fi panic button and the wireless alert activation module, which we lovingly refer to as the WAM. Excuse me. The devices indicate, show you the MAC address, the type of product that it is. In this case, it is associated with the Colorado Springs location or the main campus room for the WAM. It indicates how much battery life is left on the charge and that they are enabled. You can, when or if you have large numbers of these, you may want to filter based on one of these badges. So if you select the offline and inactive, then the screen would filter down to just the ones that are reporting as offline and inactive. Part of the configuration of these devices on the Alertus server is that you can have a notification sent to, if a specific person like me is associated with a button, I'll get notified if the button is low, and that's both for the Wi-Fi panic button and the WAM. The same is true. You can have a group, a security team or a management team or some sort of group that is responsible for knowing that the status of the devices. They can be notified when the devices stop checking in or when the battery gets low, which is particularly helpful with the Wi-Fi panic buttons, because there is always the chance that me, being a little careless sometimes, keeps the button in my pocket and takes it home, realizes I have it in my pocket when I get home, put it on my dresser and forget to bring it back. That would at least notify you that the button has been off for X number of hours, offline for X number of hours, so that you can begin to retrace your steps and figure out where you left it. The third option that we wanted to discuss with you guys today is the personal duress button. This is a really interesting device in that it works in tandem with a mobile phone and AlertAware, sister product. AlertAware is a web application that gives you the ability to send messages as a phone call using text to speech, text messages, emails, and web pushes to the application. But the personal duress button ties into the AlertAware mobile app, so you know who's got the badge, and then you can program what the clicking of the button does. So we have some organizations that use this for remote workers who are going into situations, into people's homes. Think maybe the medical field, people who do visitations, whether it be psychiatric or just medical, that lets them know that they've arrived at their location at 12 o'clock. And then at 12:30 when they leave, they double click, and the double click notifies the system that they've left. You could also have a third click, which indicates emergency. Now you can choose, it could be that one click is an emergency and two is arrive and three is depart. But we've also, based on feedback from folks who have this, added a 4-button or more clicks option, and that is that somebody who is scared, who's fearful, and maybe running on adrenaline might just keep clicking the button, not stop. Like they're just going to keep clicking the button because they know that that's how help is coming. So you can set up 4 or more to activate an emergency. And again, if you choose to, that emergency type click, whether it be the first click, the third click, or the fourth click, can be set up to automatically notify 911 and provide the name of the person, their phone number, and their location based off the cellular signal. So this is really good for people who may be working alone, whether it's at one of your locations alone or remote out of the building, moving around. As I mentioned, it ties into the AlertAware platform, which runs on the user's cell phone, so that they will also receive additional alerts. The example would be that there could be an event that happens that causes the end users to no longer continue their day. And the AlertAware platform could be used to send them a phone call, an email, or a text message, or app push, or all four, to let them know that because of a given situation, they no longer need to continue making their rounds, or that they can skip the next stop for whatever reason. Um, So the AlertAware Mobile, as a sort of overview for those of you who haven't experienced it, gives you the ability for people to report different instances from the application. So you could have other scenarios that aren't sort of personal duress in nature. So say you're a home healthcare aide and you're using the duress button to indicate that I'm at the location, I'm leaving the location, and the third one being I am in personal danger, send help. You could also have the ability to signal to the organization that there's a medical event. Like, I'm a home health aide, I showed up. This person's having a heart attack or having some sort of issue, and you want to make sure that the company understands what's going on while this is going on. So tying into the Alert app allows you to um, expand beyond just the four button press of the Duress button. So as I'd mentioned before, we do offer push notifications with the device, but it's also important to know that when you utilize the tools, that the information is geolocated, and which will help the first responders or your team understand where the is. So if you're not having the system automatically call 911, your whoever's monitoring these inputs would be able to pick up the phone if the decision is needed and call 911 and say we have an employee, they're making a visit at this location, they're under physical concern of physical health, and please send the police. The user profile allows them to turn on and turn off notifications that they receive from the application, and provide additional information to first responders. You can also set up the AlertAware app so that your emergency notification number is pre-programmed, making it a simple click within the app, and it rolls over, and the phone then calls your health and safety team. When we're talking about the duress badge, what we're looking at is the different button presses which the officer or agent uses, which then notifies the AlertAware mobile app on the phone, which then reaches out to the Alertus server so that your staff, whoever's assigned to it, is able to understand what's happening and respond to it quickly. This is an indication of what you get in the emergency reports. So it comes in and the person says there's an issue, but let's just say that the issue is as described by the person doesn't give enough detail. You do have the ability to chat with them inside the app. So they press the button, the system's activated. The person on the other end understands there's a problem, but doesn't understand the nature of the problem. They have the ability to chat back to them and get further information, clarification. It also gives them the ability to call them via the profile information. It Furthermore, there is a map feature that will show where you are. The map will automatically size itself appropriate to the area in which the alerts are happening. So let's just say you've got a campus of buildings and whatever's happening, you're receiving reports from multiple locations, the map will zoom out a little bit more so that you can see all the reports. Or if there's only one active alert, it will zoom in so the exact location of the one person who's currently reporting an issue. Um, Across all of the products that we've discussed today, I think it's important to understand that some of the benefits of them at a high level across all of them. It does obviously let people know that you're taking it very safe, very important to the organization that people feel safe and they feel like they can get help when needed. So it addresses the response gap. One of the things that we talk about with Alertus in general often is this idea of a layered ability to communicate. So whether you're just using desktop notifications or mobile notifications, or you're getting larger to things like speakers and digital signage, or to the very loud, high-powered speaker arrays that we offer to cover large areas of distance. This is just another way to fill in the gap on the activation side. The Wi-Fi devices allow you to position these things in places you weren't able to easily, effectively, or cost effectively. And it also gives you the ability to have someone have the system in their hands, for want of a better way of saying it. They can activate wherever they are using one of these methods, one of these devices. We do meet some OSHA requirements with these devices. And then there are some industry specific personal safety and accountability Duress button requirements. And then if, for those of you in education, if you're familiar with Alyssa's law, this is very much right up your alley. So I think I've chatted enough myself. If anyone has questions, I'd be happy to uh, take a swing at them.
Thanks, Greg. We can get into the Q&A portion of this session now. Please submit any questions and comments that you may have in the chat. We have received one from the chat already. That is, what happens during a power outage? Will the Alertus clicker work, or can it send a message to cell phones if the Wi-Fi/server is down?
So depending on which you're talking about with this clicker, the wireless to the rest button will obviously work. The AlertAware application is cloud-based, so if your building is down, there should be no problem with receiving and sending alerts. If your entire infrastructure is down, vis-a-vis the Alertus server is down, or the Wi-Fi network within your building is offline because of the power outage, then the Wi-Fi buttons wouldn't have a network to communicate with and therefore wouldn't have a server to reach out to. I think the same as for the wireless alert activation module, or the WAM. It relies on you having a functioning wireless network. So the power being out wouldn't be a problem for the button because it's powered by the battery internally. But if the network is not there, it has no one to communicate with. Assuming that your Wi-Fi network is up and running and this can be reached, it's up and running, then whatever power issues you're experiencing at a given time wouldn't be an issue.
All right, the next question is the panic button supervised and how often is it pulled? Is low battery detected in advance?
So the first part is it's supervised. It is don't believe I have an image of it in the slide deck here, but in the same screen as I showed here, uh, the reason we know that it's offline is because it is polled. The polling is up to you. You can have it check in as many times a day as you want, and you can have it check in as many days as you want. So if you're working in an environment that's primarily Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you could set the check-in to happen Monday through Friday at like 10 a.m. That way you eliminate sort of the false positives of people who might be a little late getting to work. And then you could have it check in again at noon and at 2 and at if your operation is more 24 hours, you could do every 4 hours, Monday through Friday, or 7 days a week. And that's completely customizable. And I think there was a second part of the question. Did I miss it?
Yes, it was, is low battery detected in advance?
Low battery is detected in advance. There is a screen in the application here, the same screen where you control the check-in, where you set your thresholds for how long it's on before you get notified, and what battery level it's notified. And again, that will go to whatever. There's two levels of notification. You can notify your safety and security team or your IT team, whoever it is that is responsible for making sure that they work. Um, and you can also notify if you have an individual, like you see on the screen here, that is assigned to a specific device, you can choose in the configuration to have them notified. It's very often the case with the Wi-Fi panic buttons that they notify the assigned contact to the button so that hopefully they realize, oh, you need to plug the device in.
Okay, the next question is wireless devices connect to what? Existing hubs/Wi-Fi infrastructure?
Correct. They connect to your wireless access points and communicate via them. So the configuration that you go through, or the in the pre-sales portion of this, once you've decided to purchase the devices, you'll be given a form to provide the information about your network, and we program the buttons accordance in advance. But the buttons themselves also can be put into a configuration mode, and you can change those things as often as you want. You can run it on a SSID that's specific to Alertus, or you can run it on your generalized network.
I see Michelle had a question about some of her previous alert beacons. We can get you in contact with the correct people about that. And then we have one more question. I see you have a cut sheet for the button, but not the badge. Can I get one for the badge as well?
So we'll definitely refer that over and get you one of those as long as we have that information. Claire, we can reach back.
Sounds good. The next question is, are we able to see where the person activating these devices are?
So when it comes to the personal duress button, you'll know exactly where the cell phone it's connected to is. So yes, you'll know where they are. With the um, Wi-Fi panic button, one of the one of the joys of Wi-Fi is that it's very seamless and very much willing to work with you. And so we can you can in the Alertus console do text substitution. So you can name the MAC address of the given wireless access point for where it's located, and therefore that information can be passed along. But with the vagaries of Wi-Fi, apply to us as they do every other Wi-Fi device in the world. If you're on the third floor and don't realize that you're standing on top of the wireless access point on the first floor, you're not certain which wireless access point will receive the alert. So I would say to you that the Wi-Fi panic button lets you know where the wireless access was that connected to it. So it gives you a very general, I would say, a more generalized information about where the person is. Whereas with the duress button, it's when I've been testing with other people on my team, we've literally had people press it from their homes, and the biggest differential between where they were standing and uh, where the alert was reported. One of our guys was standing in his living room, and it said he was standing in his pool. It was about 15 feet away.
All right, I think we kind of touched on this one, but this question is, in the event of emergency where a panic button is pressed, how precise are all three options for location of the person that initiated the alert if the person moves?
So with the duress button, if the button moves, the map is updated. So once they activate the button and the application on the phone continue to supply uh, location information. So you would, if the button, if the person with the button keeps moving, then you will see where they are. I don't believe if you've got the system set up for a 911 call, I don't know that it's going to continue to update 911 that the person is moving. But I would also imagine that activating something like this is generally speaking in a scenario where the person isn't moving long distance after the alert is activated. There might be a use case for that, but I'm not sure. With the Wi-Fi panic button, it will report the location that it is situated in when the button is pressed, um, and the activation moves forward. There, it isn't repeatedly updating itself. With the WAM, those are fixed positions, so you'll know exactly where that device is. It'll be attached to a wall somewhere, and you can name the device and put its location. So there's never a need for updating location on that because it's not like it sits on the table and someone could take it to the next room. Though maybe someone would do that. I just don't know why they would.
All right, well, that concludes the Q&A section of this webinar. Thank you again, Greg, and thanks for everyone joining us today. If you have questions or need any additional information, please feel free to email us at events@alertus.com and we'll be happy to assist you. Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.